As children, we learn on many levels simultaneously. We're open as a wide bowl that receives everything pouring into it from the environment. Learning is fast and retention is excellent. But then structured education intervenes. Learning becomes controlled, standardized, mechanized, and exclusively verbal. The wide-mouthed ball of the children is pinched into a narrow vase of the adult. What enters us now is a linear, one thing at a time trickle of information handed down to us by the instructional medium, be it a person or machine. Learning invariably deteriorates. In order to pry open that narrow mouth of linear learning, we need to make people take knowledge with all their senses, learning on many levels simultaneously, learning once more with the power of a child. We've already introduced the new era of peer-to-peer learning in Bwin Party. Knowing how important it is to have an engaged audience, we'd like to present you with the 15 tips on how to conduct an engaging webinar. Firstly, use more visuals. This is the major difference between a face-to-face presentation and a webinar. In a presentation, the audience can see you, and if there is no visual slide, their attention will be focused on you. But in a webinar, if there is no visual or you have the same visual for an extended length of time, their attention will wander. You would normally use twice as many slides as you would for a face-to-face presentation, and most of these slides would have some animation. So keep things moving visually. Number 2. Highlight what you want people to look at on the slides. In a face-to-face presentation, you can physically point to the item on a slide that you want people to look at. The Expertise webinar software has drawing tools that you can use to draw attention to items on a slide, but you can also keep things simple by building highlights with colors or animations. Number 3. Avoid slides that you only want to show for a few seconds. You may have some slides which you only need up for a brief moment. Unfortunately, because there can be a slight time lag between you clicking on the slide and attendees seeing the slide, some may only see it for a microsecond. In a similar fashion, don't build a sequence of slides that relies on exact synchronization between the visuals and what you say. Number 4. Have a photo of yourself near the beginning. People generally do not like listening to a blank screen. Having a picture there allows learners to visualize you talking to them during the webinar. Number 5. Show a slide while you're taking questions. In a face-to-face presentation, it is optional to have an Any Question slide. But in a webinar, unless you have that special question slide, you would be stuck on the slide you were showing just before you paused for questions. And that slide might be irrelevant to the question you will be answering. You can use any slide you like, as long as it is visually appealing. Number 6. Have a printout of slides. This is good advice for face-to-face presentations too. You can make a printout of your presentation by doing a screenshot of the slide sorter view. This is better than printing out your slides in the handout option because the slide numbers are shown next to each slide. That means that you can jump between slides by keying the number of the slide and pressing Enter on your keyboard. This can come in useful when an attendee asks you about a previous slide. You will be able to quickly click to it without going through multiple slides. Number 7. Use headphones. Depending on your computer configuration, your microphone might be picking up the sound coming out from your speakers. This causes a very disconcerting echo. Number 8. Turn off all your phones and dogs. Okay, so it's hard to turn the dogs off, but you do need to shut the door so if they did start barking, they wouldn't intrude too much. And if you're in the office and the dogs and kids are safe at home, remember to turn off both your cell phone and landline. Number 9. Have a clock. You can rely both on your wall or computer clock. However, the best way to make sure you do not overrun your time is to, number 10, rehearse. An extra rehearsal is required for webinars compared to face-to-face presentations. There are 2 layers of technology involved, your slideware and the webinar software. So once you've got your basic presentation well rehearsed, then rehearse using the webinar software. Number 11. Use micropauses. The long dramatic pauses you might use for effect in a face-to-face presentation don't work so well in a webinar context. That's because attendees might be concerned that they've lost the sound. Instead of long dramatic pauses, use micropauses. You can build micropauses into your speaking by chunking. Chunking is speaking in short bursts of words with silence in between. A chunk of words can be a phrase or a short sentence. Chunking has also 3 additional benefits. First, you look and sound confident when you feel anything but. It helps you eliminate filler words. And finally, you don't have to slow down to be an effective presenter. Number 12. Break for questions. In face-to-face presentations, you can take questions throughout. With webinars, you need to focus on either your presentation or the questions coming in. One way is to stop at the end of each section of your talk and answer some questions. This way, attendees could type in their questions at the time that it occurred to them, and they don't have to wait too long to get them answered. Another way is to Number 13. Have someone else ask you questions. This way, you do not lose your focus during your presentation, and the webinar goes on very smoothly. At the end of the day, giving a webinar should not be a solo act. Number 14. Have a spotter. You can ask a colleague to act as a spotter. The spotter's task is to let you or someone else involved in the organization know if anything went wrong from an attendee's point of view. This is usually done via a chat pane that only you can see. Number 15. Have a plan B. It's always good to have a plan B. For example, you can send your presentation to a helper or to another email account or even a device, like your tablet, smartphone, or cloud drive. Send your PowerPoint slides to the expertise team the night before so that if something goes wrong with your computer, the slides could be shown from another one. An alternative is to have a different computer ready to go should your primary one crash. We hope these tips have been helpful.